Unboxing! Done! Ahoy! It's review time for the first time. And this is our subject. The tec Pro1. A phone with a real keyboard. Look at it. It's beautiful. To be clear, I'm not sponsored. I got this because I wanted it. For two main reasons. First of all, the keyboard. And secondly, there's nothing else really wrong with it. You can root the Android on it. It comes with a headphone jack, which is also something I need. And it's got a Qualcomm chipset, which is really nice because I've had MediaTek in the past and I really don't like the experience of that. No matter what the benchmarks say, they're slow and you can never find any custom ROMs. Well, on this one, there's already LineageOS, there's SailfishOS, there's Ubuntu Touch, and there's other things that I cannot remember right now. That's one of the really nice things about this phone. tec really doesn't try and stop you from rooting the phone or installing another operating system. In fact, they've been helping the Lineage and Sailfish people and so on to get their operating system ported. I've tried Lineage on this for a while and it's really nice. Right now I'm running the stock Android with the Google services removed for no particular reason other than I've got all my stuff on here and I've been procrastinating around getting that all copied so that I can try something else. Another something special it has is a shutter button for the camera. It's a two-step shutter button, so if you press it softly, the camera focuses and then you can shoot your picture. So I've had this for about a year now, and I'll tell you what I think about it. First of all, I think they did the keyboard really nice. It's about the perfect size for my hands. It's a 6-inch screen on the phone, but it's quite a compact phone for that. So my thumbs reach the middle easily. I do have quite big hands. And it has all the symbols that you could wish for. It's almost a full desktop keyboard, minus the numpad. And I have no problem doing things like this. Which on a touchscreen, to me, this would be a complete nightmare. I don't know about other people. This is one of the reasons that I got this phone, and I cannot show you the next part, I'm sorry. Typing passwords is another thing that really is much nicer with a real keyboard. Just imagine the situation where you ask your friend the Wi-Fi password and he points you to the router, which has some mess of symbols written on it by the internet provider, and they didn't bother to change it to something sensible. But yeah, this is something I do quite often. I'll access my PC from my phone, and if I'm in the bed or something. Also, I just like chatting with people on my phone too, and on a touchscreen for me it's just nearly impossible. And since the software keyboard doesn't eat the screen, you can be doing stuff like this. You can be talking in your chat and reading some documents or browsing the web and watching YouTube all at the same time. And in case you wonder, yes, I want my phone to be a laptop. This might be Android specific, but if you're anything like me, you wonder what the hell is this when you try to select text with the touchscreen. With the arrow keys, you can use Control to skip words with the arrow keys. You can use Shift to select. You can use Control Shift to combine those two. You can use Control Backspace to delete a word. You can use Control Z to undo. You can use Control A to select all, Control X for cut, Control V for paste, Control C for copy. That's all really nice things that you don't get with the on-screen keyboard. You can still use the on-screen keyboard if you really want to. It automatically comes back when you close the physical one. I hardly ever do that though. I just like this much more. The Pro 1 comes with Android, like basically every other phone, unless you go for the crowdfunded Pro 1X, which you can get with Lineage or UB ports out of the box. If you don't like the way the home screen looks over here, that's just me, I placed my own launcher. I don't think I have to tell anyone what Android is like. This phone it's quite nice, there's no bloatware, no such nonsense. And if you don't know what Lineage is, it's basically Android improved. You might still want to use the normal Android because some applications, like banking applications, are not happy if the bootloader is unlocked or the phone is rooted. I will now hand the camera to Mosen, who will show you SailfishOS.
I would like to shortly summarize the state of the SailfishOS port on the Pro 1. Since during the Pro 1X campaign there was an emphasis on the UB ports and Lineage OSs, since those are the two officially endorsed ones. On the unofficial side we have our Sailfish community port maintained by Adam Pick, Nikita Uryankov and Mikhail Stepaniak. Those guys did a really great job in adapting SailfishOS to the Pro 1 hardware. Even the more tricky parts like fingerprint reader and Bluetooth stack are fully operational by now. Currently my device is running the Ruoka 3.3 release with 3.4 Pallas UES Tenturi already working on the Protoss devices. Let me show you around the Pro 1 specific SailfishOS quirks and features. On the Pro 1 you have two additional ways of waking your device. First of all, obviously sliding out the keyboard. If it goes to sleep while your keyboard is exposed, like I'm forcing here, you can press the escape key, so it comes back. Since we have a fingerprint reader on the device, it's nice, the porters already got it working. Also there's a Sailfish oddity with fingerprint readers. You first have to wake the device before you can unlock it. That's a paradigm, yeah, you can like it or not. Here it is cool because you have the device woken already and can just unlock it with convenient placement of the index finger, or you have the power button, just press it and roll down the finger to unlock. Here you can see one of the few remaining bugs. You saw the orientation of the landscape tiles was not correct. This happens if you set the device to sleep in a different orientation then you wake it up. That's unfortunate. Currently you have overlapping tiles, but I hope that's going to be fixed soon. The camera is working great. You're advised to use Adam Pick's advanced camera. Again, a Pro 1 specific feature. You have additional grip when sliding out the keyboard in landscape. You can just hold it like this. Since you have the camera on the top, you can comfortably hold the device with both hands and not touch the rounded screen. That's really a nice feature for me. Fully working Bluetooth is another strong point of this port, as I can demonstrate you in my Pebble. Reacting to the phone's command, you can just change the watch faces without any problem. Also audio routing to calls, to headsets works flawlessly. Yeah, it's nice. Performance-wise, as a user of Sailfish since 2014, I never had such a performant device. It's really astonishing. So the 6 GB memory makes it possible to have LXC containers, which Kabouik will show you much more about later. I just use it for the Chromium browser. You can see here it's a regular Debian with XFCE, and it flawlessly switches between the Sailfish surface and just completely another OS. It's yeah, it's astonishing. Yeah, like native apps, you on the heavier front you have something like Pure Maps. And then my personal test is switching from this map view, scrolling over to the menu, and on many Sailfish devices you see a giant lag when the scroll happens. This is not present on the Pro 1, and yeah, I'm really satisfied with that.
Like Mosen mentioned, Kabouik will now tell us a bit about LXC containers. This is part of a longer video to which I'll put a link in the description.
This is a Pro 1. It sounds like a Pro 1 as well. Mine is running SailfishOS. This is a community port. That means that we cannot buy a full paid license and we cannot use or buy the proprietary bits that would come with Sailfish with a full license, or at least running them on the Pro 1 wouldn't be legal. But other than that, everything works out of the box with remarkable performance. It might be even faster than official devices because we have better specifications on the Pro 1 than on official devices. And really the porters did a very good job on that system. So if we go in the web browser, I can show you what the native virtual keyboard looks like. It's very simple. You have multiple layouts that you can choose from. This is just a small selection here, but there are others. And it works very well in portrait, but as soon as you go into landscape mode, of course, it's taking too much space and you don't have enough left for showing the content. Even if you use a simpler layout like that one. That's too much space eaten by the keyboard to my liking. And that's really where the hardware keyboard shines, because as soon as you open it, Sailfish will detect that and it will hide your virtual keyboard and show you the content on the full screen again. I can decrease the brightness a little. You can even scroll down and up using the arrow keys if you want. So that's for Sailfish native applications, but the thing is, on Sailfish we also have support for Linux containers. If you're not familiar with Linux containers, it's a little bit like virtual machines, except there's no virtualization involved. So that means better performance and also less resource usage. That's really Linux distributions running in containers, just like virtual machines, really, alongside your native applications and within your main operating system. So we have a container manager application that's a pre-release, but it's already available on GitHub. I am not the developer, I'm just a tester. And these are the containers I already installed. Before I demonstrate them, you have to know that there won't be any hardware decoding in containers. It works in native Sailfish applications, but not in containers. So you won't be using containers for gaming, for example. The performance will still be enough for watching videos. I will show you a video from YouTube in a moment. There's also no video out, which would be very convenient, of course, because you have a full Linux distribution, desktop distribution on your phone. So if you could plug an USB-C to HDMI cable, then you could really use that as a laptop and plug it in a TV in the hotel room, for example. The Pro 1 has hardware support for that. The issue is with Sailfish. There's no support for video out on Sailfish yet. Some people have started investigating that, so hopefully we will get that working one day, but it's just community effort, so we don't know if that will work yet. So I will start Kali, which is what you would see after a fresh install. I didn't customize anything in that one, so you will see XFCE, the way it looks after I hit accept when creating a new container. The UI will be small because I didn't adjust it, but you can adjust it, you will see that. So I start a next session. I could also just start attach here. What it would do is it would open a new terminal here, but the terminal would be inside the Kali root file system, and you would have two different terminal windows. But we will start the next session. So I go back to multitask view because I want you to see that it's opened a new window, and if I click on it, it's already booted. It really just took a few seconds, and it's already responsive. You don't have to wait any longer to use it. So what's cool is that we have this full Linux distribution running in Sailfish, and Sailfish applications are still there. They are still working smoothly. there's no issue whatsoever, and we have full Linux distribution here. And then I will show another distribution that I did configure to my liking, and I installed a lot of software on that one, but it starts very fast as well. If I start the next session, you will see that is quite quick. And here we go, it's already ready to use. So I can start my application menu, that's Rofi here, and I could, I don't know, I could start maybe Darktable, for example. Not that you would use that very often on a phone if you don't have video out, but I don't know, if you need to edit something and you don't have a laptop, that could work. So I can also, since it's a tiling window manager, I can start another terminal and it will split the screen into halves and put one terminal emulator on each half. I could also set them to be floating windows, for example that one. So that means that it will always be on top, even if I do something in another terminal or any other application like Darktable, I would still have my terminal here on top. And you could make it smaller if you want. I can show you that I have also my Firefox add-ons installed because it's a desktop version, so there's no limitation whatsoever. I have Tamper Monkey, I have uBlock Origin, and I can close a tab using Ctrl+W. I could start a new tab also using Ctrl+T and search for example, this other handheld device, which is the GPD Micro PC. And we will see the video results. And start one. And it's smooth. It might be dropping a few frames, but I don't think that's noticeable. And even in full screen, I don't really see it. I know that it's dropping frames in full screen, but I don't really see it. I think it's okay for video watching. We could also copy the address of that video and load it in MPV. That means that I can close that tab now, and I have a key binding to start MPV with the address that I used, that I put in my clipboard. So now I can still continue browsing all my tabs and keep an eye on the video. I could put it in a smaller size as well if I want to have more space for my web browser. On average, I have 50 words per minute. I'm typing at 50 words per minute on that keyboard. And very good accuracy, there's no typos. It's convenient to use. I don't really feel like it's a pain to type on that. I can multitask also and start a spreadsheet, for example, and type some numbers, and then the sum of these numbers, and that's it.
Let's find out exactly how fast I type on this thing. So, boom, 50 words per minute. I think that's pretty good for a phone anyway. Might give you some idea what to expect. One detail that is pretty important to me is they have two little nipples on the F and the J key, so that you know where they are, which helps me a lot because I really don't like to look at my fingers when I'm typing. I like to look wherever I'm typing, or at the road if I'm walking. The keys also feel pretty nice to press. They're tactile and clicky. I like that. Besides being able to do this, it's a pretty solid phone. It feels nice and sturdy. It has a Snapdragon 835, which is quite a fast chip. It's got 128 gigabytes of storage. They have a SIM tray thing, which is an annoying trend nowadays, but I guess there's no choice. And you can use either 2 SIM cards or a SIM card and an SD card, or like only one of those. I've got the 1 SIM card and a 256 gigabyte SD card in there, so I got plenty of storage. They also have an Indiegogo campaign now for like an updated version that has double the amount of storage and 8 gigabytes of RAM instead of 6. Use promo code NETMAN20 to get an error message about an invalid promo code. So, an interesting detail about the SIM tray is that you don't have the little hole where you have to push a pin into like most phones. Instead, we have this little cutout where you can get your fingernail or a guitar pick or something under it, and then you can pull the thing out. And you have to open it with the screen facing down, otherwise everything will fall out. I'm quite happy with the battery life I've been getting. It's easily lasted me all day or like even 2 days. At one point I stayed awake 24 hours, I had like 7 hours of Thermux use on there and it was still going, so that's very good. Also, we have stereo speakers. To me, they sound good enough for a phone. There is a fingerprint sensor on the side below the power button, and I don't use this, but I've heard people complain that it's easy to accidentally trigger this. Of course, this doesn't happen if you don't set up any fingerprints. What else to say? Yeah, the camera is pretty nice. It's like, I think like you'd expect from a modern flagship phone, but I don't really have anything to compare to. It's better than any phone I've had before. Speaking about that, people have asked me to compare this in size and so to other phones, which let's take a look. Here it is next to the classic Nokia N900, which I used to feel like this is a big phone and this was new, but by today's standards it really is not. It's quite fat though, it's fatter than the Pro1. Significantly fatter. I like that this one has this shutter for the camera. You can stand this one up as well, but it's kind of a silly stand thing. I'd rather have the way this is. I like this better, and using this one now feels very small and annoying, but I really liked this phone when it was relevant still. And this one also has a shutter button. Of course, this one has a stylus, which is missing. I think the touchscreen on the Pro1 is a lot better. I know there's some people who like this resistive touchscreen because you don't need to use fingers, you can use anything, but to be honest, I've had no problems using this with thin gloves, and I like the capacitive screens better. The feeling is nicer. This one is plastic and it's far away from the actual display. This is it next to the Doogee S60, which is the atrocity of a phone that I've been using before this. Yeah, what to say? The Doogee is bigger in every dimension. It's fatter, it's wider, it's taller, so I'm quite used to having a chunky phone. and it weighs half a kilogram, but it's waterproof and it holds up to everything. This one is not waterproof. I wish it was, but I think that's quite impossible to combine with the keyboard and all. Maybe someday. A man can dream. Here it is next to a Nubia Mini 5G. This is some kind of a prototype. It's a experience sample that fell off the back of a truck, but I have it, which I stuck an iPhone keypad to because I'm desperate to have a keyboard. This is my backup phone. This one is a bit smaller. I claim to be the smallest 5G phone for a while. It's smaller than the Pro 1, but not by much. Of course it's quite a bit thinner because it doesn't have a keyboard. If you include the iPhone keypad, it's fatter. And of course this is not a perfect solution, it's quite unbalanced. This is it next to a Samsung S3 Mini, like the name suggests, a small phone. And this is it next to a Lumia 730, a very green phone. Again, quite smaller because it's old. And this is a Sony Xperia M. Again, a very small phone by today's standards. This is a Nokia E72. It's one of my favorites. The keypad on this doesn't feel as good as the Pro 1, but it's still quite nice. We also have this. Shows you how desperate I am to get a keyboard. This one is T9, but it's better than nothing. It doesn't even have a brand name. It's the same length, a bit narrower and a bit fatter. So the Pro 1 is not the only option if you want a keyboard on your phone in 2020. There's also the Cosmo Communicator, which has like a more laptop style keyboard. And I've tried this, but I cannot show it to you because I don't have one. And I didn't like the keys. They like to topple over if you don't press them dead center. And there's no nubs on the F and the J key. Shame on them. But if you want something that you can set on a table and use 10 fingers on, this might be a better option, because that's really not something you can do with the Pro 1 unless you have tiny fingers. And this one is usable, but your thumb's just about, but it's not great. There is also the Unihertz Titan, which is huge, and it has a almost square screen, which is interesting, and it's waterproof, and apparently it's hot. And both of these also, they have MediaTek chipsets, which I don't really like, but I might actually buy one of these at one point. I've been quite tempted. You can also still buy BlackBerry phones, but they cannot be rooted, and the keyboard is the wrong way around. So they might be for some people, but they're not for me. I don't like to be stuck with the software they put on this from the factory and things like that. Mrs. Cat, what do you think about this? Approved. When you buy the phone, you also get this little pouch to store it. Pretty tight, but I think that gets better if you use it a lot. However, I don't use it a lot because I have another one. I have this one, which I got from Amazon. I cannot find it anymore, so I don't know if they still sell it. I don't think any case exists for it yet. However, if you get a Huawei P20 Pro case and you cut some holes, I did a really bad job here, and I should make one here too for charging. And then it fits quite tightly. This one I also had to trim at these corners because they're weird, and then you have a reasonable case, only it doesn't protect the screen side. Another thing they include is a screen protector, but I have my own that I bought on AliExpress. It's a hard plastic one, because the screen is curved like this. You cannot find the nice glass screen protectors, which I find kinda sad, but it is what we get. So I'm not a big fan of the curved screen. I think this might make it more fragile and stuff, and even the plastic screen protectors are a bit hard to apply, but I can live with this. And they include a screen protector in the box also, and you can buy similar ones from a brand called Protect, and this is one of those Protect screen protectors. Sorry that it's disgusting. It's really flexible, and that's why I don't really like these. You see, like, you can wipe this around on the screen and stuff. They're very strong though. Like, I've tried stabbing this, and it's pretty tough material, but I prefer these, which are like a rigid plastic and it's equally strong. And these come from AliExpress, and that's what I have on there. The problem with these is that they don't really stick down perfectly on the edge, but I quite like these. They're quite acceptable. A charger is also included. It is Quick Charge 3.0. I don't think that's a good idea. I don't like Quick Charge. It ruins your batteries, and in the case of the Pro1 in particular, it also makes the phone really hot when charging, and I don't really use the charger because of that. Nevertheless, if you want to charge it real fast, it's possible with this. You can use this everywhere, almost everywhere. You can put this for Europe, and this one for the UK and Malaysia and maybe other places, and I think this one is for the United States or something like that. Very small flimsy plug. I like that they made the USB connector green, it looks cool. I think it's important that the charger doesn't try to kill you, and to accomplish that, there has to be a very high resistance between the side that plugs into the wall and the side where you plug the USB in. And this here is an isolation tester. This allows us to put a high voltage across both sides of the charger, a much higher voltage than comes out of the wall, and see if there's any current flowing from the one side to the other. We will use this USB cable that has all the ends tied together and give it a go. Let's turn it to 2.5 kilovolts, which is really quite high. That's more than you need to pass the certifications. Let's see. Going up, and voila, it passes with flying colors. But just to be sure, we try all possible ways to connect it. We're gonna try the polarity the other way around too. It usually doesn't matter, but doesn't hurt to be sure. Do keep in mind, this isn't complete proof that the charger is safe. If you want to be absolutely sure, you'll have to take it apart and unwind the transformer and have a good look at everything. But I don't want to do that because I want to keep the charger. Let's find out what happens if we short circuit it. So, got 5 volts and we got nothing. and we can see from, because the wire has a little bit of resistance still, you can see it went into hiccup mode, so it's trying to start, giving up and trying again. I'll leave this for a few minutes. I think around 10 minutes have passed and there's no fire. It is not hot, still feels just the same, and it comes right back to life. Very good. Back to the star of the show. Another really cool thing about this phone is that if you ever break the screen or the battery wears out or for whatever reason you want to disassemble it, it's not gonna be such a hard time, because instead of gluing everything together they used screws. There's a bunch of stickers here on the back, and behind there's a screw. And there's 5 screws to remove the display panel, then another 3 more to remove this whole front assembly, and another few screws to remove this keypad and get access to the insides of the rest of the phone. And you might notice that I have quite colorful stickers on there, and that's not standard. This is something that I made, and I'm planning to have a lot of these made and give them away. And this is something else that is much better with the keyboard. So something I do differently than on PC is instead of using the W, A, and D keys for games, I use W and Z for up and down, and then A and S for left and right. Because it allows me to get to all the keys without moving my thumb. The screen is OLED, which I don't like that it's theoretically possible to burn it in if you use it at high brightness a long time. But the nice thing is that if there's direct sunlight and you turn it up, it's blindingly bright and you can still see it. I've had no problems using this outdoors. And before we end this video, this is how I look through the selfie camera of the Pro1. And this is me through the normal camera of the Pro1. Something I also want to mention is that there's quite a nice community around this phone. And I would like to invite you to our unofficial Discord chat room, to which I'll put a link in the description. To summarize, there's only a few things that I don't like, and there's a lot of things I do like. What I don't like is that the curved screen makes it hard to find good screen protectors. Also, the phone gets quite hot during quick charging. And I wish that the shutter button was a little bit more tactile. It doesn't have a very decisive click to it. It's still perfectly usable though. And some people don't seem to like the placement of the fingerprint sensor. What I do like is the keyboard. I love the keyboard. This makes a phone much more usable to me. And I can actually talk to people this way, which I find otherwise difficult. I can write commands, I can edit code, I can select text, I can copy paste properly, and also I really like the way they implemented the hinge. It feels very solid, and because there's only rotating parts, I think it will be less sensitive to dirt and dust than a sliding mechanism would be. Also, it allows you to sit the phone up like this and have a better angle to view it than if it was laying flat. And it's also all quite nicely balanced. When you hold it in the hand, the bottom part is the heaviest, so it doesn't want to escape your hands. And because it has a headphone jack, stereo speakers, the shutter button, a notification light, I never feel like anything is missing. And you also get the freedom to choose what operating system you use. I think that is awesome. And the operating systems I've tried have been very good. The battery life is excellent on this thing, and the chipset is very fast. I've never felt like it's lacking in speed. It's never lagged, it's always really nice and responsive. And in conclusion, finally someone made something like this again, and I love it. It's the best phone ever, in my opinion. That's all for today, hope you enjoyed, goodbye.